think my marriage is over because the trust in our relationship is totally fucking gone now.
Oh my god, I said I'm not sitting on the remote.
Then get up and prove it!
Welcome, brothers. In today's video, we will explore stories of women who made the decision to divorce. Some regretted it afterward, while others provided absurd reasons for their choice. But before we dive in, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments. This greatly helps us reach more men who may find this content valuable. Without further ado, let's get started.
One of the biggest questions I get asked all the time is, how do I know when my marriage is over? How do I know it's time to leave my marriage? This is an awful place to be. I was in that place for 5 years before I actually made a decision. And most women contemplate divorce for 2 years before taking any action. You are treading water in this pool of what I call indecision purgatory. You don't know if your marriage is too good to leave or too bad to stay. But we need to figure this out for you, because how does it feel to be there? How does it feel to always be wondering? How does it feel to wake up and wonder what you're doing in this marriage every day? And is this as good as it gets? I've been where you are. I pondered that question for 5 years before I did anything about it. And over time, I just built up so much more resentment and fear because I didn't know what to expect. What I offer you is this. I have an on-the-fence strategy session where we will dig deep, you and I, for 90 minutes and really take a good look at your relationship. We're going to look at where you've been, how you got here, what you've done in the past to improve it, what you're willing to do next, and look at the 2 different paths possible. What does it look like if I stay? What do I need to do? What does it look like if I go? What does that look like? We'll work through that together so that by the end of 90 minutes, you'll have more clarity and feel a lot more relief to know what path to choose.
In short, pay for a session with me to learn how to ruin your marriage by injecting all the poison I've accumulated. When Chad left me, a man who brought nothing to the table except his seed, and whom I endured for 5 years because, he was the bad boy I liked. After I left that relationship, I realized I could capitalize on my experience, sell it to women in healthy marriages going through a rough patch, telling them that everything their husbands do is wrong, so they can be as happy as I am, without a husband, without a boyfriend, but ruining other relationships with my advice. Of course, I don't have a couples therapy or psychology degree, just my traumas from the Chad. If you call now, I'll throw in a bonus half hour on how to secure the house, half of his money, and the kids. Don't miss this offer because this channel is always active in ruining marriages. If you doubt it, watch an example in the following video. Goodbye.
I'm depressed as fuck. 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 I am depressed as fuck. I'm depressed as fuck. I'm depressed as fuck. I'm depressed as fuck.
Night I come home and my wife said, Andy, we've learned to live without you. Like, me and the kids live without you. You're not here. First I get defensive and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, babe, look at the house. Look at where we live. Look at your car. Look at all this stuff. She goes, Andy, when you come home at the end of the day, you're exhausted. You're beat. You literally save 0 special energy for your family. We get leftovers. You think coming in and, hey babe, love you, and then sitting on the couch and high-fiving the kids is the man we want? Are you serious? So what are we going to do? I can just remember, man, I felt like I'd been deceived, and I had been deceiving myself is what happened. I had lost my way. I realized I'd looked in the mirror, I'd become fat, was losing my edge. I didn't even recognize myself. I thought that the paycheck was the value I was as a man. And you know what I realized? Dude, I need to change, and I need to change now.
In Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, there's a rule that says, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. He meant that you should take care of yourself as if you were taking care of your child, waking up early, feeding on time, grooming, taking to the doctor, to school, ensuring they become the best version of themselves, looking their best. However, some men forget to do this for themselves, often due to long work hours, worries, or the notion of not being selfish. The truth is, to be a successful man in life, to be a desirable man, you have to be selfish. That's why in older movies, you saw protagonists who were masculine but took care of themselves, were selfish, always putting themselves first, something attractive to women and everyone in general. As Andrew Tate says, when you enter a place and see several men, you can quickly distinguish a winner from a loser. The winner dresses better, takes care of his body, exudes masculinity, prioritizes himself, doesn't let himself be intimidated. Another thing to note is that when a woman loves her man, she doesn't mind confronting him, saying, "Love, we are losing you," not because of anything bad, but to express concern that he might be losing himself. This is something done by someone who genuinely cares about you, wanting their husband to be in the best condition. These women value their men. Another thing they might do is either give you a divorce or cheat on you. Kudos to these women for valuing their husbands.
You know, a lot of people will make the decision in their minds, but they won't be able to articulate it to their spouse. They won't be able to tell the truth. They won't be able to just say the thing that they most need to say. Other times, people will be able to have the very difficult conversation where they share that for them, the marriage is over and that the best next step is to unwind the relationship. But then they take no action. Like the next day, they wake up, they're both in denial, they pretend that everything is sort of fine, but it's super uncomfortable. Or I've also seen a larger number of people where they do take action, like where they will separate and they will live separately, not either in the relationship and not out of the relationship for years. So they never really walk through that final door. They just stop the bleeding of the day-to-day interactions of living together, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that people deal with this, but all of those examples are just different ways of getting stuck.
Every person is different, but my thought on this is that when a woman decides to separate, she has likely discussed it with all her close ones, pondered over it, and might even have consulted a lawyer. So when she finally approaches the man, it's often to give him an ultimatum. Brother, I won't tell any man who loves a woman not to fight to save his marriage. However, if it's a broken marriage, with a dead bedroom, a relationship where there's no peace, where certain topics are avoided, where you sleep in separate beds, get out of there. You don't have a marriage. You have a burden, someone who is there because they don't have a better option. As soon as they do, they'll discard you. So, if you already know it's broken and you're going to try to save it, better prepare a good lawyer, safeguard the remaining assets or your house, and mentally prepare for a long battle. Because as soon as she utters the word divorce, brother, that woman becomes an adversary coming for your money.
Different ways of getting stuck somewhere in the process. And so that's why it's not actually as straightforward as you might think. It's not just about the paperwork. So I could tell you story after story of where when women have this conversation with their spouse and try to explain why they made the decision that they did to end the relationship. And then there are lots of very, very difficult conversations because it's never just one conversation. There are pleas for another opportunity, another chance to make it right, another chance to make the changes that probably should have been made years ago and would have made a huge difference years ago and may or may not make a difference now. I can tell you infinite number of stories around when this happens, then the spouse goes on what I call good behavior, which is like being nice and doing things around the house because they don't know what else to do, right? But inevitably, months will go by or even years, and you'll realize that nothing has really changed. And then you're back to the same place, and it gets more and more frustrating and hopeless every time you land there.
Brother, sometimes the unknown is better than what one currently has. Once I heard a story about a guy who said when his wife asked for a divorce, it crushed him, broke his heart. But after the initial shock, he analyzed his life and realized he wasn't happy there. She had this plan that he would suffer and she would live the great life. So, he mentally prepared himself, initiated the divorce, set a year to wrap everything up. During this process, he started exercising, focused on how to earn more money, began engaging in different activities like dancing, swimming, cycling. He started traveling with groups, going on vacation tours, and began posting pictures, showcasing a fantastic life. His positive attitude even led to a salary increase. He mentioned that his life took an upward turn when he didn't see his loss as something bad, but rather as freedom and new experiences. You know what happened, brothers? On the day they signed the divorce papers, his wife saw him happy, more in shape, witnessed everything he had done. Now she was hesitant about the divorce, wanted to give it another try. But he declined, continued with his life, Married a woman 5 years younger than his ex-wife. Brother, life can get better. You just have to look for it and not let yourself be crushed. Remember, it's an opportunity for change, not a death sentence.
One of the most important steps in healing from an affair, if not the most important step, is ending the affair. And in my book, The Courage to Stay, I talk about how important I think it is to send a breakup letter to the affair partner. The reason why is we really want to communicate to both the hurt partner and the affair partner that the affair is completely done. There should be no more contact. There should be no more conversations. That phase of our life is over. So in the book, I give you a sample affair letter, basically a sample breakup letter. And I thought I would read it to you now, and you can tell me what you think. Through the years, I've gotten a lot of interesting feedback about it, but let's talk about it. So if you have the book, this is on page 85. Here we go. This is the sample breakup letter. Amanda, out of respect for my wife, my children, and my marriage, I need to end our relationship immediately. I can no longer have any communication with you in any form. I realize that our affair was a very selfish choice, and my family deserves to be treated with love and respect. While I cannot undo the choices I've made or the pain I have caused to my family, I can work diligently to make amends for my behavior. I love my family deeply, and I will no longer do anything to risk their happiness. I will not be contacting you further, and I would ask that you do the same. I do not want to see you or hear from you. Please respect my decision to end our relationship and have no further communication. Sincerely, Tom. So what do you think about this breakup letter? What would you add to it? What would you take away? I'll tell you a little bit later about the feedback I often get and why I worded things the way I did. So look forward to your thoughts.
These are the ones trying to sell you something. Many of them spin tales of marriages so toxic and abusive that they could be a Netflix series. But I wonder, if the guy was so bad, the devil on earth, why do they stay with them for so many years? Why choose to marry them? Why give them access to their lives? Oh, because they deceive them. Of course, they deceive you for 5 to 10 years. The thing is, brothers, they see the red flags and still get involved with them. Later, they come up with the idea of saving the man, thinking he's bad to everyone else but will change for them. Afterward, they go around saying they survived the apocalypse. That's why many of these stories seem like tall tales, stories they invent to later claim survivor status. Of course, I have to sell you something because all that I went through with Chad, with my guidance, my book, or my courses, I can save you. The worst part is there's always someone gullible enough to buy into it. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think about single dating coaches who always have something to sell? What do you think about the story of the man who changed? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from Masculine Valor.